Hey y'all, it's Sarah, and I wanted to share some ideas on making your own herbs and garnishes for some of your Miniverse projects. And you can kind of see, I'm going to pull this over here really quickly. Can you see the little garnishment or the garnish there and some of the herbs that I've put on some of my other food? I wanted to share some ideas on how you can do that with just some Dollar Tree material, and a lot of it you may already have at home. So let's jump in and get started. Most of this involves moss. So some of their moss is labeled sometimes, some of it is not. It'll just say floral moss. I'm using kind of this darker green. You can see. And I took one of the bottoms of the Miniverse, and I chose the bottom that has the writing in it for a reason, because it helped me kind of move this along. First thing I did was spent my time sitting here over and over, chopping with a little pair of scissors. This is going to get messy, so be prepared. Do it somewhere where you can kind of sweep things back off and back into your little cup. Once I did that, and I'm not going to sit and make you watch me chop all this up, but it's pretty easy. If you try to do it like this, I don't know if you can tell, I've got my hand over it and I'm just kind of poking my scissors in there and snipping away. That does help control some of the mess, but you do want to try to chop it as fine as you can possibly chop it this method. And then my next step, and like I said, I'm not going to make you watch all of that. I do have a real mortar and pestle. I did not want to use it for something like this, but I do happen to have this little thing, and I don't know what it's really for. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what it's really for, but it worked pretty good. So I just started grinding all of that down, and it definitely is much easier once you've already chopped it into bits. But I started grinding it down against that little bit of embossed writing, and it almost worked to a dust level. And you can start to see, this is why I said you might want to do this somewhere where you can easily kind of scoop your mess up and put it back in your cup or your container. Because maybe you can see right here. Can you see that fine little dust it starts grinding it into? So I did a little bowl full of that and added it to one of my sprinkle spice jars so I could control it a little better. But I wanted to share some other bits. All right, let's take a little peek. And I am going to do my best to not knock everything down. And I'm bringing in this kind of herb crusted bread. Now, I made this using just Dollar Tree, and I knocked it all down anyway. But that's okay, you can see the bread a little better. So I made this using Dollar Tree. Has a couple different types of clay, modeling clay. This stuff doesn't typically harden. It's in the kids section. It doesn't typically harden. It's not like a bake clay. So they have this. This is a crafter square, so that it's still Dollar Tree, but it's over in the craft section. Most of the stuff I've done has been with one or other of the two of these. I get the color through this packaging and the white for this, and that's what I used for my bread. I got the shape, and because it doesn't harden, I decided to give it a little whirl and see if once I got my shape, if resin would work over it, and it in fact did. And if you guys want me to do a video on making some of these, I absolutely will. So now, if you can hear it tap, I used a little bit of, I think I actually used one of the broth resins, maybe, or I used the glaze from the ham. But poured that over there, ran it through. It in fact did harden. Same with my carrot. I was amazed. It's awesome. It opens a whole new thing for me because I still have some of this modeling clay from activities that my kids wanted to try. and some things we did together, and I haven't used it really since. And I'm going to put my little garnish back on there. And put my little carrot back up. Then I just toss it up there so it doesn't fall down again. But I wanted to talk about the herb crust. Let's see if I can get that thing to focus. Maybe it'll focus for me now, but you can see I've got a nice little herb crusted bread. So I wanted to show you which one gave me this look. So using that very same method that I showed you with the greener looking moss, I used this kind of brown looking moss here. And you can see that in this little container. That's what this one has turned into. And you can see I've got it down almost to a dust-like consistency. And that gave me a whole different look. And I want to show you another moss, because this one is new to me. I'm pretty familiar with Dollar Tree stuff. I'm sure if you look at my playlist, you can see that I do indeed like to craft with Dollar Tree items. So this was actually new to me. And let me grab that because I have it set to the side, because I was super excited to share. And I'm knocking things down, so we'll ignore that. But this one's actually labeled. And I don't know if you can see that inside of there. For miniatures, for plant making, on miniatures, for wreaths and vines. And gosh, I wish I'd have found this around Christmas time, because this would have made a really great touch to the less plasticky fake look to some of my dollhouse Christmas bits and bobs. This looks awesome. So when you pull it out, and I'm going to show you because it's going to make a little bit of a mess, but it's got two different types of some kind of moss plant-like stuff in here. And hopefully I can get it out. It does kind of come in a big chunk. And I don't want to pull too hard because I don't want to break too many of the elements. And I'm knocking everything off my counter. Sorry, I had to clean up on aisle 3. But if you look here, and I found this easier to do with tweezers. Right here. This is one type. Can you see that? Which is awesome. It actually really is. It's got such a great texture. And then, let's see if I can pull one strand loose. I've got a few that I set aside. As a matter of fact, I already made a plant out of this. Oh, look. This one even has some little pieces of leaves that really do look like a plant there. I'm going to have to dig through and pull some of that out. Oh, so look, like almost 3 different types. I hadn't even seen that. I've only pulled out the 2 pieces, or the 2 types. And since I have those pulled out, I'll go ahead and show you. I have some to the side here that I already separated, because I took my time to separate them. They are dried, so I didn't want to knock a whole ton of leaves off. And hopefully you can see, how cool is that? Can you see that? That is so cool. And especially for miniatures, look, we've got little vines going on there. We've got just all these cool little details. So I went ahead and I sorted some of this out. And I've got it in a jar over here, so I can grab it fairly easily. But I wanted to show you where I was able to use that a little better. And that was what I just popped on the top of here. Can you see? I just pinched a little piece off. And I haven't gone back in and just attached that with resin, but I will. And maybe you can see here by my turkey. Let's get a little closer. Maybe you can see that a little better. I've used just a small bit of this. And honestly, what I did was just bundle or pull out of the bundle little tiny pieces that were broken. And it almost kind of looks like dried rosemary or dried thyme. And let me pull one of these little guys out so you can see how cute it is. And these were just broken pieces. I didn't damage any of the longer pieces. I still have those to do artificial plants. But look, now it looks like you've got some fresh rosemary or fresh thyme or whatever it is that you want to consider that being. And I'm sure you can pick, as a matter of fact, just looking at it, it looks like there's some pieces down in the bottom of the bag that you could definitely pull out pretty easily. They do have some bits in there that are a little on the more scraggly side that look a little bit more like vines, but you got the fuller pieces. So I was super excited to find this because there's honestly just so many bits and bobs and little scraps in here, and some pieces look a little, see, let's pull this little guy out. Some pieces look a little more fine than others. Like you can see, this one definitely has a different texture than maybe one of these pieces. If you can see, it's kind of a little fluffier. It's a little fuller. So very excited to find that. Some of them are a slightly different color, so you've got a little variation there. And it really doesn't take much of a piece. All these little scraps that fall off, throw them in a container, throw them in something. You've got a lot of great little extra touches for any of your food items, any of your little decor pieces. Because here's why. I did say that I made a plant. Let me see if I can get to it without knocking anything down. So here's my little plant. Isn't that cute? And unlike a lot of the artificial plants and things like that, this has really such a realistic texture. Obviously, it has such a realistic texture. I can see this being super useful in a lot of ways. I'm certainly going to end up looking for more. I've really had fun picking little pieces and parts out of this to make other things. But I wanted to share all these ideas because every little detail matters, I think. Even as a scrapbooker and a paper piecer, I loved adding the details that you didn't expect, or adding more details to the details to the details. And you can see I've kind of started to take that route with more experience with the Miniverse, and the more I learn how their products work and what they can interact with, I'm definitely going to continue to do that. And if you're interested, I'll show you some of the side things that I'm making. I don't consider myself any kind of polymer clay artist or a traditional clay artist that does all the firing or puts them in their ovens. That's a lot of work for me. And I don't know that I would sit and make enough pieces at one time to make it worthwhile to run it through my oven. But being able to run it through my light after just putting a little resin on it and knowing that it's gonna harden for me is kind of awesome to know now. And so far I've tested lots of different items and types of material to see how it works in the resin. And I kind of assumed I knew some of how that was going to go, since I do play with nail art materials that are very similar in how they work. Anything that I learn and you see and I happen to share and you're curious about and you haven't seen me share it, just be sure to ask, and I'll definitely try to do my best to get it shared. But I did want to share all of these cute little ideas, and I'm super tickled that I realized it has some pieces in there like that, because those really do look like a little miniature plant of some sort. Now I'm going to have to take this whole thing apart and sort out. And I love that there's so many different color variations. I know it's hard to tell. It all just looks green when it's piled up like this. But I'm just curious, real quick. Is there anything else in there? Well, we got some sticks too. So, yay for authenticity. I don't see any other things that jump out at me, but I do love this material. I absolutely have a lot of other ideas for it. I want to make entire shrubs. I want to make some larger plants, because some of these pieces, if you pull them out carefully, they're super long. And I think if you layer enough of them, you're going to get something that really resembles like a natural fern, because I'm sure you can see that these pieces curl like a plant would. They are not wired, because this is, you know, a more natural material, so you can't flex them all that much, but their natural shapes are pretty interesting. That's all I wanted to share. I hope you had fun. Hope you saw something that gave you an idea or something worth trying, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, y'all.